You're listening to Rio Radio, the nationally trusted name in real estate investing. We dig deep to discover investors' why in real estate. If you want to skip all the BS and get in investors' heads, you're in the right spot. Be one of the thousands to check out RioRadio.com.
Anybody listening to this episode, this is kind of a PG-13 here, so if you have little kids in the car, put some earmuffs on. Thanks for listening.
I made the commitment and I wanted to finish and I didn't want to stop. At 8 years old, what's the freaking level of commitment for the people that are listening to this podcast? You want to buy a house? Buy a fucking house. You want to invest? Invest. You want to do better for your family? Just fucking do it.
This episode is brought to you by JM Real Estate Capital.
Hi, it's Rob, JM Real Estate Capital. We're the money guys that you need to know for all your real estate investments. Talk to us. We can do what your local bank can't or won't do. We don't have millions. We have trillions with a T to lend. 844-week close or go online at jmrecapital.com. That's jmrecapital.com. JM Real Estate Capital, smart solutions for the real estate investor.
Welcome to Rio Radio, episode 172 with Gabriel Ruiz.
Gabe, you are half the man you used to be. Last time we sat down, which was, do you remember this? We had lunch or coffee or something?
Yeah, stories.
Yeah, and this was, maybe a year, 2 years?
Yeah, a year and a half, something like that.
And you're not the same guy that I remember sitting down with. What's the story, man?
I've gone through some changes.
Tapeworms or what do you have going on?
Honest, part of it is not doing this as much. But speaking of which, cheers.
Cheers.
Yep. Happy day. We are here. We're breathing. We're above ground. Not a bad way to start it.
Heck yeah.
Just like Mother used to make.
Hey,
delicious.
For the listeners today, Happy New Year's.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year's. Ringing in the new year with Rio Radio.
I mean, what's a better way to do it? And it's funny because you're like the way you started. I feel like you're going to be like, and in this corner, weighing in it. So
yeah, he loves the Michael Buffer intro.
But it was funny
style.
that you then started with, hey, you're like essentially weight, and all in my brain, all I can think of is, and in this corner.
Right.
Oh,
weighing in at 190 pounds.
I thought this was a real estate podcast. What are we going?
I see you brought out the gun show, though. I mean, you kind of shed a layer on the way in here, claiming it was too hot.
It is. So
he's got a little subtle flex going here. Hey, tune in on YouTube, by the way, if you're going to enjoy this.
So then you're going to see the ugly sweaterish. I had an ugly sweater thing before and after, so I was wearing this. Plus, it's a bit chilly outside, but it's toasty in here. You guys with your fancy button downs.
Warms your cockles. Speaking of that, so how did you lose all the weight, man? That's where I'm trying to go with this.
Sure. Sorry, squirrel. I can go. It can get bad real quick. You guys saw that before it recorded, or maybe it was.
We used to have a podcast studio with a window in it.
Oh boy.
Oh my God, Ted.
We get so distracted.
We get distracted.
Yeah, we.
My back was to the window. That'll tell you who the royal.
I would have like Airbnb guests checking into other units and watch them. He's like, who the F is coming into your place right now?
They don't do background checks. So how did I lose weight?
Yeah.
Part of it was training for the 50-mile march, walking at least 5 miles 3 times a week, doing my regular workout routine at the gym. I cut back on booze in a big way. I didn't drink from January till September this past year. So that's all those things helped. Eating cleaner foods, avoiding seed oils, avoiding flour, because flour in this country is crap. That's a huge rabbit hole.
But it's better. It's better in other countries.
Oh yeah. The reason why we have, again, this is real estate.
No. We do.
All right.
We dig into real estate eventually
at some point.
Yeah.
All right. So so like I was in Sicily and Italy earlier this year. I know you guys kind of asked about that earlier, and it's disturbing how the food in this country isn't food. It's filled with so many fillers and carcinogens and all this other crap. That's why people in this country have gluten allergies. Like you look at other countries, some of the things that we have here for illnesses don't exist in other countries. It's because our food is junk. Like even Fanta. The kids had Fanta like almost every day when we were in Italy and Sicily. If you look at the ingredients list, it's like 2 or 3, including juice, not yellow this and red that.
Yeah. All the dyes.
They're
they're terrible.
Well, I mean, what are in these cherries? We're probably drinking poison right now. Cheers, boys.
Yeah. Well, we think the alcohol kills it. So I think we're okay.
The Buffalo Trace.
It's Rio Radio approved.
Okay,
we've researched it over 171 episodes so far.
We're
still kicking.
Now, I did hear recently that Canada was banning like the red dyes.
Yeah.
And,
Oh, I
and-
thought they did already.
well,
So
it is banned. I'm sorry. Yes.
yeah, and so they
Okay.
talk about and what other countries do, I believe, for like especially cereals and stuff like that really appeal to kids, right? So they put out all this marketing that has bright colors, fun.
They're great.
Yeah, cartoon. Wow, that was pretty good. Cartoon characters and all that. But what other countries do to like use instead of using the fake dye that they
It's like
create, like
beets and stuff.
yellow,
right?
yes, beets,
Yeah.
blueberry juice, stuff like that.
What
and
you
that
call it? The red velvet?
Yeah.
The original recipe was with beets.
oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Huh.
My wife told me that, so it's got to be true. She read it on the internet. So
Not the red dye.
yeah, it didn't evolve with red number 42 or whatever.
And not Beats by Dre for those of you listening.
Although I do feel like a rapper. Like
You know, you look good. You're
Do I?
pulling it off. You
I'm
got you got the silver chain, the cross,
white gold, sir. Okay.
Oh, sorry,
Goodness.
sorry.
This is
Correct
silver, right?
Okay, all right. Now we're all squared
Bling,
away. No, that's cool. So you lost how much? What was the weight differential here with
About
this version of
60
Gabe?
pounds.
Nice.
I'd be a new man if I lost 60 pounds. Holy
you-
moly.
Yeah, man.
I couldn't even,
2025's year of Ted.
I mean,
Do it.
I weigh at 270 right now.
Okay.
And if I drop 210, I mean, I haven't seen that weight since end of high school, probably.
My goal for 25 is abs. My goal is to have abs. So
I
that's like another 25 pounds.
I do 400 crunches every morning, 5 days a week, and you would never guess it.
Well, yeah. I mean, you can't spot reduce, right? I mean, we've talked about that. Like, got it. Yeah, it's your diet.
I
at this-
feel it. I
especially at this
totally
age.
feel underneath my skin.
So you have abs. They're just behind some
and,
stuff.
and I feel all the ridges too,
Those are ribs.
but they're not popping out.
Well, we'll work on that, Ted. We'll get a little Rio Radio boot camp going.
yeah, let's do
we're
it.
not we're not drinking in January.
That's
Okay.
right.
We go sober, which actually helps with our budgets around here.
Which borough are you from in New York?
I'm not from a borough.
Oh,
I grew up upstate, about an hour north of the city.
okay.
So that's why my accent isn't.
Quite as
So like some people say water comes out. I say Florida wrong. Apparently, I can't say drawers. Like there's certain words I mispronounce. Coffee. Apparently I say weird. It definitely comes out more after adult sodas, or if I'm on the phone with any of my friends from back east. Then yeah, and the F bombs start flying. Too.
What's the town?
It's Mayapack. It's about an hour north of the city, smaller town. The difference between small town there versus small town Nebraska is they're right on top of each other. The further south you go, the population goes up, as do the taxes, which is why I left.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. Upstate's pretty during the fall and stuff. I spent quite a bit of time actually in Binghamton and let's see, Rochester.
So that's Canada, sir.
Yeah, I know. And I've told this story before a while back on the podcast, but like I got all excited because I worked for IBM and I was supposed to go set up their college recruiting program for RIT, Rochester Institute of Technology. And I was like, sweet. And I'm like, I knew like 2 people in New York. And I'm like, hey, I'm going to be coming to town. Like, kind of, I'm excited. Like, I want to see the sights. And then
You're 8 hours away.
yeah, right. And then like a couple weeks beforehand, I was like, all right, I got to start nailing down what I'm going to do. Like, I'm going to make a couple of days out of this. And then I looked at the map and I'm like, what the hell?
Mhm.
This is 5 hours north of New York City.
It's a huge state. People don't realize it. In fact, when I moved here the first time, the number one question I got asked was, had I ever been shot at? I'm like, New York's not one giant ghetto. In
Yeah.
fact, where I lived, it was pretty safe. It was pretty nice. We had trees and distance between houses and windy roads. And to me, that's beautiful. That's one thing I do miss about back east. I don't miss the communism and all that bull crap, but I do miss the windy roads.
So I just got a notification, news notification today that Trump said he wants to make Canada its own state, the next state.
what?
Yeah, he wants to bring Canada in as the next state of the United States.
So he wants all the maple syrup. I get it. There's a lot of. Did you ever see that? There's the whole thing on, I don't know, one of the platforms of like a great heist. It was people stole maple syrup, and there's like a lot of money in maple syrup.
Huh.
It's a thing.
I did. Nope. I've learned a lot so far in the first 5
All
minutes of this
useless.
podcast.
Could you imagine Canada becoming a state of the USA?
Well, I mean, if you depending on where you go, have you ever been to Canada?
Yeah, I have.
That is a big state.
I've been to. It was
Huge.
Saskatchewan and was it Kamachka
Could be.
or something?
Bless you.
Not
Is that a
Kamachka.
venereal disease?
It's not Kamachka. I got that off my wrist game.
We've had on
Kama Sutra?
we've had Alex Camacho on before. I don't
Maybe
know.
that's what I was going with then. But I have been up there. I chaperoned a church youth trip up there
Okay.
and had a great time.
Want to read that?
Okay. Here you go. Okay. So, in all seriousness,
Okay, sorry.
All right, let's bring some levity.
Let's
to
bring
this
it back. Let's
conversation.
bring it back. Father Owen, bring us in.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay. How long did you live in New York, and why? So you talked a little bit about what you missed there. How did you end up in Omaha? What's the story there?
I lost a bet.
Is that true?
No.
Oh,
You believed it though, didn't you?
I've
We've
heard stranger
heard
things.
crazier
I
things.
locked eyes when I said it, so it was believable.
Yeah.
No, I work brought me here many moons ago. I used to run retail stores in upstate New York between Albany and Rochester, ironically enough. So my closest store was like 2.5. Furthest store was 5.5 to 6 hours from where I lived. I lived at the time in Danbury, Connecticut. Had an apartment in Albany, had an apartment in Syracuse, had multiple vehicles, would fly or drive back and forth. I'd be gone for like 3 weeks at a time. I had a girlfriend and a dog back home. Nebraska popped up on the map. My counterpart actually came out to scour the market. And he tells me he went to Nebraska. And I'm like, Nebraska? Like, no disrespect, but the people on the coast don't know everything that's in the middle of this country. I was one of those ignorant people.
That's like we think New York is just a city.
Yes.
Like there's nothing else.
Yep,
It's just New York City.
Meanwhile, it's very much like Nebraska. Like the Rochester is Omaha.
Yes.
It looks the same. Like if you just drop someone in there, like, oh, okay, I'm in the suburb of Omaha somewhere. It looks the same. Anywho, long story short, he came out here. He's telling me about Nebraska, and I have no interest at all. And then he tells me there's a P.F. Chang's there. I'm like, oh. And this sounds dumb, and this is the reaction I get.
This is the first thing you told me when we
Yep.
did a 101. Yeah.
And in my head, I'm like, okay, this isn't easy, Bear. In my head, I'm thinking like this isn't Applebee's. They're pretty strategic where they put their locations, so there are people there. Mm-hmm. So obviously, with the painting I have in my head is wrong. Like I thought it was gonna be a bunch of rednecks, pickup trucks, and chewing tobacco. Look up Mayapack. That's a lot more in Mayapack than it is here, which is ironic. Anywho, so came out, loved it, want to buy a house, wanted moving here, was here for, I thought it was gonna be here forever.
What year was this?
This was in 2005, wanted buying a place in 2006, bought my first for-purpose investment property the same year. So that was my third property at that point at 25. That was a small multifamily in Midtown. Did well with that one. Midtown changed since then. And then I wound up moving back east. So I thought I was gonna be here forever, was ready to buy a third property here. But went back east, took over another project there, wanted to buy a few of my own stores. And my story goes on.
Was that retail? Like that's why you went back? So
Yeah,
same kind of like what you knew.
I used to run cell phone stores many moons ago.
What was the name of your cell phone store?
So the cell phone stores here were In Touch Wireless. We sold Nextel Partners, which was not a subsidiary of Nextel. It was actually its own entity. They operated in all the markets that Nextel didn't operate in. Nextel Communications was the other one.
And were you guys like based in like malls?
Yeah. So Mall of the Bluffs.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Crossroads, Westroads, Oakview, all overnight. Did 4 of those overnight, and then 2 at Gateway Mall a month in. And the only reason why we didn't pop all 6 overnight was because we had a permit issue that delayed the opening. And then about a year in, we did one on 90th and 4th, and that was the only one that wasn't in a mall.
Now, did you have an ownership stake in this telecom business that you were involved in, or you were just basically like a regional
Correct.
setup guy?
I was a regional manager. I covered during my time there, training, recruiting, marketing, customer retention, all sorts of different things within the time. But when I was here, I was the regional. But even upstate New York, I was in charge of either taking over a store, maybe it was through acquisition or building from the ground up. So funny because some of the things I do now, a lot of the training was in that life, and it does translate.
Okay, so you mentioned casually there that you picked up an investment property in Midtown Omaha, and then you skated back east, handled some stuff. At what point did you come back to be here
So
and grow roots?
The longer version of that is I had the 2 properties here. One was a multifamily, one was the house I lived in. Moved back east to take over another project. Was only there for actually a short period. Met my now wife. She's from Miami, so we were in Miami together for some time. Back to New York, Connecticut, because I still had a place there.
Your Miami wife has to love Omaha.
She actually does. She's
really?
Yeah, she
what
does.
A life change.
Yeah, she doesn't. Well, because she grew up in. Well, Miami's a whole nother world. It's freaking. I love Miami. I do. But it's not. Well, anyway, so
you look more Miami than you do New York to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Look like you're like, I could see you fist pumping.
Well, that's what New York, man. That's why I don't have any hair anymore. It's too much product back in the day. So we had our first child. We were living in Danbury, my place in Connecticut, and then had an opportunity to take over an e-commerce company in California. We were in California for about 5 years, Orange County, California, then LA County, California. Still had the properties here. Had 2 more girls because you see all this, right? She just couldn't resist. And
what's her name?
Her name is Travis.
Her name is Travis.
Her name is Travis,
Yeah.
and I'm Gabriel. She was born a woman. identifies as a woman. She's still a woman. Can I say that? You can just edit that out if you want.
You're fine.
I really want to see where you're going with this.
Where I'm going with this is on paper, people think she's me and I'm her. So I have neighbors that call me Travis. I just wave. It's easier.
Wait, are you serious?
I'm
Her
dead
name's
serious.
Travis?
Her name is Travis. Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Huh.
Mm-hmm.
And you know,
Is there like a Y in there or
Nope.
like a weird spelling?
And
No.
It's just
and you-
Travis.
It's just
like
Travis.
and
her
she-
parents were like, "Look, we really
We
wanted a
hate you."
boy. We really wanted a boy, and we're not changing our mind on that."
she's got to be smoking hot though, because
I mean,
it's-
smash, not
yeah.
pass.
Yep. Because I don't know why, but every time I run across a woman with a guy name, they have something to prove, and they just tend to be a little bit extra hot.
So that's the joke of like she couldn't resist because I married way up. Like
Yeah.
she's gorgeous.
We know what that's like.
Yeah.
We outkicked our coverage, is
Yeah.
what we say.
Yes.
Cheers, boys. Cheers. It's out kicking coverage.
What I always say is, if you see a guy that outkicked his coverage, you know he's a great salesperson,
Not at all. I can't sell at all. So to finish answering your question,
or is
I'm
really
sorry.
rich.
I'm not rich. I am very poor. So maybe it's something else. No, I'm just kidding.
Cars.
Cars. Yes, that's exactly where I was going. I'm making them blush. This is definitely not airing. It's fine. Yeah.
Your arms.
Stop. So we want to move him back here in 2017. This was her first go at Omaha. And we came here because schools become important, traffic, all that stuff. She just was done with LA. That was in 2017.
Yeah, and now you have 3 daughters, right?
3 daughters. Hence
And
the lack
they're-
of hair, sir.
Yes.
8, 9, and 14 years old. That's some fun ages. 8 is a fun age. I can vouch for that one, but I can't vouch for 9 and 14.
You'll get there.
I'm gonna say 14, not so much. Not as
She's got
fun.
her days.
I mean, yes, there's that.
She doesn't hate me yet, so I'm doing something right.
There's a point when they just stop. Well, I wouldn't say stop, but the amount of time that they want to hang out with you after school really decreases. Like, you know what I mean? Like they get home and it used to be like, oh, hey, how was your day? And like conversations and hanging out and like mom and dad time and, you know, do stuff. And then all of a sudden they just want to go to the room.
Oh, you make me so sad right
She
now.
does go to her room, but it's weird because so like I go to the gym, I try to exercise, going back to the weight thing, right? And she's been asking as of late, like, hey, when are you going to do this again? When are you going to ruck again? So the last couple of weekends, she's been coming with me to the gym. It's interesting because it almost doesn't matter what I do. Like if I'm leaving the house, hey, where are you going? I'm like, why? Like it's not. I'm the father. You're the child. Why are you asking me where I'm? But she asks because she wants to join.
Yeah.
So I'm blessed in that regard.
Well, I think, you know, and Ted, I'm curious your take on this because I know you talk a lot about, I know this is super important to you and you think about it a lot with the kids and their ages that they are. But like my youngest daughter, Olivia, she's an athlete and she is pretty quick-witted and like we joke around all the time. Like, I mean, we have, as you can tell, like I'm not a real serious guy generally, most of the time.
I'm getting a look from this guy over here.
Yeah. Okay. I have my moments.
You have your moments.
I don't know if you can feel it or not.
He says
sir.
I have resting dick face, which I probably
You
I
do.
could probably say that.
Yeah.
But anyway, but no, we bond over athletics and like, you know, we'll especially during summertime, like we're outside nonstop. Like it's always we're, you know, doing something on the water. We're playing volleyball. We're playing softball. Like we're, you know, she wants to go to the gym. She's in weight training now.
How old is she?
She is just turned 13 last week.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So she's super motivated, determined kid. Like she has a lot of how I was when I was her age in her now. And so that was always our thing. But now it's like winter time and like you can't, you know, it's like super cold out and she just kind of like goes to her room. So it's kind of sad, you know, but at the same time, you're kind of like, well, you know what I mean? It's like, it's a give and take with it. Cause on the one hand you miss it, but on the other hand, it's like, okay, I can get more stuff done or I could just relax or, you know, whatever, spend time with your spouse.
While you're right, everyone always says soak it up because it goes by fast.
Yeah.
Blah, 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 you know, it didn't resonate with me until I think last year, maybe it was the year before. Someone said you only have 18 summers with your kids, and for whatever reason, that hit me. And they said and that's if you're lucky because when they're younger, they're not going to remember anything. And then realistically, 18, probably not because if they're driving at 15, 16, it's really less than that. So do it.
Yeah. You're right. And I have a 16-year-old too.
Can you
And
tell my wife that?
she just got she just got her license. But the weird thing too right now is like kids, I don't know how you guys feel about this, but like kids just don't want to drive anymore. Like I could not wait to get my license when
Same.
I was like, when can I get my permit?
I was stealing
When
my
can I
car
get my
2 years
license?
before I could even drive it.
Oh, I used to do burnouts in my driveway. My mom loved
Yeah,
it.
and so now it's just everything's changed, and kids are less social because they're more connected online,
Mhm.
and they're less wanting to go and actually experience things. Where it's just like whatever they're they've seen all of it now because it's all in reels or whatever.
Well, things can change, but right now my kids are super excited about driving. I actually took them road course racing.
That's awesome.
So I took my 7-year-old and my 11-year-old, and they had the time of life, and like I wanted to do this. So maybe that provided a little more excitement to drive.
Could be.
Yeah.
But I'm having the same with my 14-year-old. Earlier, she was all amped up. She's like, "Oh, I want to go." But the last year, I almost have to beg her. I'm like, "Let's go. I want to teach you how to drive because I want her to be able to transport herself without."
Yeah, there's the convenience factor of it too, where it's like, but then you got to go we bought her a car, and she is she struggles with ADD and
What happened?
There's legit, she's legit medication for that.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, so
Sorry.
I see what you did there. No, I'm kidding. I get it. I don't.
So he
care.
does get serious.
No, I don't care.
Is that the big face you're talking about?
Yeah,
All right.
I told you.
but no, she really has a hard time focusing, and so she's scared to death whenever she's behind the wheel. Like, she really has a hard time just with fast changes, and we're trying to be ease her into it, not be like throw her in the water, because the scary thing is, man, last weekend, so my kids go to school in Council Bluffs, and there's a small town called Underwood, Iowa, which is close to Council Bluffs. There's a 14-year-old kid that died, and he had three passengers that were all kids. He had a school permit. I don't know what they were doing or whatever. I don't know all the details, but he was killed because he was driving, and I don't know what was going on with all the details of it, but that really hits me now. Is
Sure.
I do, life can wait a little bit. I'm not in a huge rush to push her out the door and drive and do all these super stressful things before she's ready for it. And I think you just have to pick your battles with the kids too. It's you may have one kid that's way ready, or ready way before the other one is, and that's fine.
But you hit the nail on the head, because if you do pressure them into it, if they're already stressed, and especially if they have ADD or ADHD or whatever, it's just going to accentuate. Is that the right word? Yeah, it's just going to make it worse. Yep. Maybe try to go to Joe's karting on a quiet night and have her rip around just so she gets. Obviously, it's not the same, but you got a gas pedal, you got a brake pedal. They're using 2 feet. But
what I did was we bought a golf cart.
Okay,
and so we just drove that around the neighborhood. We just drove that around the neighborhood,
make it rain.
And she got the basics down, and steering and gas, brakes, all that. But
pretty smart.
Yeah.
Smart.
Anyway, so we spent a lot of time on this. Sorry.
Life, it's important. It's our family.
It is.
At the end of the day, all of this stuff that you guys do is fantastic, by the way. And I didn't start with thanking you for having me here. It's an honor. But why do we do all this stuff? We do this for our family, for our kids, to build a legacy. So, I mean, that's more important.
Yeah.
That's the why.
Mic drop
You're
there.
You're talking about time, and it made me think, too, because I made a commitment to my son, and I was just talking about it with my wife this morning. I was like, my son's going into sixth grade, and he does every sport. And he's like, "Hey, Dad," he's like, "I really was kind of bummed out that you didn't help me with coaching a lot of sports this year." And I felt like, my exact response was, I felt like you kind of aged out of my ability. Your abilities are exceeding my what I can provide you. And he's like, talking about basketball. He's like, "Well, my basketball coach is currently," he goes, "They might have played basketball, but," he goes, "they don't motivate us, they don't excite us, and they don't tell us where we fail." And then he goes, "The kids don't care about how many games we've lost." And he goes, I care about, I want to win. And I feel like we have him in the wrong league personally. But in the end, he's like, I made a commitment to him. I'm like, "Hey, okay, here's the deal." I go, "I only did one season of basketball. I did play baseball for quite a while. And I wrestled and did the things like that. But he does football too. And I helped with his football team, but I felt like a loser out there because I never played football. I just didn't know a lot of the basics."
Have you seen Ted Lasso?
Yes. And yes.
and I say that actually being serious, because part of the coaching isn't necessarily knowing the sports ball event game thing that you're talking about. It's a matter of people
extracting the best out of the people that are part of your team, right? That's your job.
Yeah. And so the one thing I did coach, the last time I coached was basketball 2 years ago. I took the team and we went undefeated until the championship game. The kids were so nervous that they actually just completely lost it.
Oh, what a bummer.
Because the star players couldn't shoot. They couldn't sleep all the night before because they're so pumped up about this game. And he used that as a reference. He's like, we won every regular season game with you being the coach. And you just taught us a few plays. He's like, you just do it. So I'm like, Carson, I go, it's your 6th grade year. It's the last year that I can help with coaching. I will help out with coaching with every team every sport that you do that year.
How's that going? How's that aging?
Yeah, well, it is what it is. I mean, it's good for him. Plus, I won't be able to do it again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you don't get those years back.
Because 7th grade on, he's going to be in the school programs. There's paid coaches in.
Here's the thing, though, man. Like, you don't necessarily have to be like on the, like quote unquote an official coach. There's that after school stuff, and you spend individual time, and you can give, you know what I mean?
Just being there.
Yeah, just being there and being like, hey, you want to go bump the ball around, or you want to go play catch?
Not with my kid. My kid is all sports, all competitive, and
but even
that's what he wants.
Even if you're not coaching, though, just being there is going to make the world of difference.
And I'm there. I'm already there.
Okay,
but it isn't the difference that is
really
helping. Yeah. We are in the same wavelength on how competitive we are, and that he enjoys that and he feeds off of it. So I was like,
speaking of which, you're going to bring out the Mustang this year?
Mustang? Where am I going to bring it?
You said competitive.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking cars.
Yeah.
I'm thinking racing.
Yeah, I love racing.
Yeah, same.
How did you get into cars? So that's a hobby of yours, obviously, a big interest.
Yeah, so my dad was a kind of a car guy to some degree. He had a Camaro back in the day. It was a manual. It was only a 6.
What year?
Probably an 85.
Okay.
It was only a 6-cylinder, but it was manual gearbox, so windy roads in New York. Like still had fun. He had a Pontiac Grand Prix GTP, which was like 240 horse supercharged. I wanted buying that from him. We used to watch James Bond movies together. He was very conservative. He was a CPA, born and raised in Puerto Rico, super poor, didn't have shoes until he was 8 years old, didn't have running water in his house until I was in elementary school. I'm the baby of 3 in my family. So, he had some stuff which was fun and exciting. The James Bond thing was something we bonded on.
That stuck with you?
Yeah.
Where was your
Aston
mom?
Martins.
Where was your mom from?
My mom was born and raised in New York, in Brooklyn, New York. Her parents are both off the boat from Sicily.
Oh, okay.
So
okay.
I'm Puerto Rican, Sicilian, great food, bad tempers.
Hence why you went to Italy recently.
Yes.
That's funny. You went to Italy. Did you visit like family while you were there, or was it just basically for fun?
So we went with mom. It was a gift from her. She had said, hey, I can leave you a couple bucks. We're not, my father since passed, but they're not balling by any means, but she's like, I can either, leave you a few bucks or we can create memories. I'm like, I want the memories. I want the memories with you and with my kids. So she treated us. We went to Rome and then Sicily. Rome was awesome. Great food. Lots of really nice people. Got to see a lot of really old stuff. And I love old architecture.
Mm-hmm.
Gorgeous, gorgeous buildings. But to me, Sicily just spoke to me. People were even nicer, if you can believe that. Food was incredible. The views were fantastic. Old churches, old cities, just, I can't wait to go back.
How long were you there?
10 days, and it wasn't long enough.
What do you think is the right amount of days to go?
Of them.
all the days?
I don't know, because that was actually my first time ever in Europe.
Mm-hmm. I've never been. That's why I'm asking. It's like I'm kind of on this path of I really want to do Europe, like somewhere in Europe, and I'm trying to pick the right, because there's so much to see. And I don't want to do the thing where you're like, you spend 5 minutes in France and 5 minutes in Italy, and then, by the time you're done, you're like exhausted and you don't remember anything. I kind of want to do it justice and be like, this time I want to go to whatever it is. If I want to go to Italy, I want to make sure it's an impactful trip and maybe see a couple of things and spend quality time there and dig in. But I don't know.
That's kind of what we did. So we stayed in Rome for a chunk, and then we went to Sicily, and we actually stayed in 2 different places, Airbnb and then a hotel, which was cool because we got to see different parts of Sicily. Still kind of the same town, but different areas of the town.
Now, Sicily's there, it's an island, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So you had to, how did you get there? Was it like a ferry, or did you fly in? I don't know how far away it is from
paddle boat.
Paddle? Shut up.
we flew.
He's a bigger smartass than I am. I'm having a hard time
catching up,
comprehending this.
Oh goodness. Yeah, we flew. And
so it's just like a puddle jumper, right? You just go over and takes what 10 minutes to get there, or
It's
if
like
that?
50.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's out a ways.
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay.
From Rome anyway, depending on where you fly into. So if I was to go back, I definitely want to go back to Sicily. I'd like to check out Greece. Greece, from the pictures I see, it looks gorgeous. Same thing, old, and I like old stuff.
Mhm.
That's why I like. No, I'm kidding.
It's why you're attracted to me as a bro.
Yeah, romance. No, but all jokes aside, I envision going back with just my wife. So this trip was my wife, my mom, and all the kids.
Oh wow, that's a big one.
But it was awesome because they got
Yeah.
to experience stuff. Like, we did some cooking classes. The kids had a great time. They got to try stuff they've never tried. Sicilian cannolis are not regular cannolis. They are so much better. I knew this already because I grew up, again, Puerto Rican Sicilian. My kids hadn't had that before because Nona their grandmother doesn't live in Omaha. She lives in California. But I would go back with just my wife, rent a car, go to Sicily, just drive through the mountains, get lost, find some little freaking restaurant where they don't speak English. We don't speak Italian, Sicilian, whatever. Just, they don't take credit cards. Like, I'm painting this picture in my head on what could happen.
Yeah.
And just have the best meal of our life. And that's what I want. I want to go for 2 weeks.
What's your thought about traveling and taking and getting an Airbnb? Because it's something that I've gotten around the States, but I would be super nervous about traveling to Europe and getting an Airbnb and not choosing a hotel, to be honest with you.
So we did both. We did in Rome, it was an Airbnb.
Mhm.
We were essentially in someone's apartment, which was really cool. We're in like this, like, you walked into a building which wasn't really inside, it was outside. It was like this huge what do you call it? Not corridor, courtyard, yeah. So you could see their patios that face the courtyard, and then there were buildings in the middle of the courtyard. And then we were in one of the towers, is kind of what they called it. And there was an apartment in that, and that was an Airbnb. And then when we went to Sicily, as I said, we were 2 different places. One was a hotel, one was an Airbnb. It was great.
Were you nervous at all, though, like booking it? I mean, obviously, you've never been to Europe before, and you're like, hey, let's just do this Airbnb and try it out. Like, you didn't have any, like, I know when I think about going outside the country, I know people book them when they're going traveling, like South America and stuff. It just makes me nervous to think about that. You know, I kind of like the stability of a resort or a hotel.
The safety part.
And I own Airbnbs. I'm just being honest about it.
So the only thing that was made me nervous, or I was hesitant about, I'm a gun guy. I always carry a pistol with me. I can't do that in certain areas. So that kind of freaked me out a little bit. Like, going to a country, I don't know people. There's a language barrier. I don't have my pillow. I mean, the chances of me ever having to use my freaking pistol are, less than 1% probably. But I still have that. It's like my safety blanket, if you will. That's why I was making the joke about my blankie. But
Linus.
Linus.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Charlie Brown.
Peanuts.
Oh yeah.
They always have a safety blanket. Sorry, obscure.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
It's an old guy joke.
Yeah, but sorry, boomers.
Back in the war, that joke killed.
Which one? WW1. So no, all jokes aside, like that was where I felt a little weird because I didn't have that, but I didn't mind. There's always that level of uncertainty. It's the unknown. I mean, it's like buying a new rental, starting a business, whatever. Just do it.
Yeah. It's something I'm gonna definitely like have to get out my box and try though. We haven't been to Europe though either. That's a trip I made.
This was my first time, so
Yeah.
I'm not like this world traveler that can tell you all. I'm just telling you based on this one experience. Do it
Yeah. No.
and do it with the fam because you'll create memories that they're gonna remember forever.
I told my wife the other day, I was like, we have enough points on our American Express card right now that we can go to Europe for free.
So then
Let's go do it.
why are you even discussing it? Just book it.
It's just it's getting the time down to do it. So,
Summer.
Yeah.
The kids will be out of school. Do it.
Yeah. White House work
it.
too.
Yep.
It's fine.
Okay. Next summer, we're going to Europe.
Yeah, you make enough
Welcome.
money. You can
We-
cover it.
I'll be your Manny. Carson and I are going to hang out. A couple of bros.
We just told Jessica, I go, hey, for Owen's birthday next time, we're gonna go to Europe.
Oh God.
You
She's-
joke. For Christmas this year, the kids aren't getting a whole bunch of presents. Like, they're going to open up some stuff. We're going to go to Guatemala. This will air by the time. Yeah, they won't know. For Christmas, we're going to go to Alabama. That's where my father-in-law is. From Alabama, we're going to go to Miami because we went to Miami last year via a cruise, and the kids loved it. So we'll stay like a day or two in Miami, and then from Miami, we're going to go to Key Largo.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, top of the Keys for like, I don't know, 3-4 days. And then on the way back, we'll stop back in Alabama because it's just too far to drive. And then in addition to that, we're going to hit Guatemala next year. We're going to go to Vegas and California. It's all about trips and experiences. Like, they've got enough crap. Like we talked earlier about kids and how distracted they are with apparatuses, phones and whatever else. give them trips, man. Like create
Yeah.
the core memories.
We told all the in-laws and my parents and everybody has like nothing to do with the screen as far as gifts go. We've been saying that now for the last 2 years because it was like 3 years ago, the grandparents got them iPads, and that has been like the worst gift.
Yeah.
and because now we got to limit them, and then like my mom, love her to death, but she got my son a PlayStation 5. Now we had to limit that. I'm like, oh my gosh, stop with the screens, stop with everything, like all experiences. So I'm like, hey, you know what? Get them a trip to Kansas City or take them to a hotel and have some fun with them.
Something.
Take them out to Topgolf. Like create individual experiences with the kids. Will remember those way more than those gifts that will get thrown away in the trash eventually.
And so will they, because there will be a time. This comes full circle to all the things we're talking about, right? At the end of the day, we do it for them, right? So yes, busy, yes, work, yes, make money, blah 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 blah. At this point in my life, like I'm not top echelon by any degree. In fact, I'm probably the smallest minnow that you guys have ever had on this podcast. Again, why I'm
Not at all
honored. But for me, it's like I'm doing what I'm doing as an income thing, just so I can create more memories with the kids. Because there's going to be a time where I'm on my deathbed if I'm lucky enough to be in that situation, not just die. Where I'm gonna look back and I'm not gonna think of like, oh, I should have flipped 3 more houses. No, I should have spent more time with the kids.
Yeah.
So do it.
Yeah, I love you said that. I remember back when I was a kid. So my family was
1912.
Yes, back in the day, uphill both ways,
Before electricity.
all the snow.
I don't even have to give the jokes today.
I know. This is great relief for you. You can talk even less.
I'm feeding off the energy from prior, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm not being mean to Owen. Owen's fantastic.
But I think back, and my parents, I think, did a really good job about putting together varied trips that are memorable, that I can think back and so we didn't do the same thing every time, right? We didn't go to the same place. And there's something to be said for that though, too, because like my wife's family, they went to Minnesota every year and they had a cabin, right? So,
Minnesota, eh?
yeah. And they had all these, it's going to be the 52nd state because it's not a state now. The whole thing was for them. It was like they looked forward to it. They knew what they could expect. And the people were the thing, right? Like it was the setting was great, but it was all the people involved, right? So she had the extended family, and they did a whole thing there and road tripped. Let me back up. So my childhood, my sister and my parents took us to a bunch of different places. So we went to like Colorado and saw the mountains and the snow, and I think we might have gone to Yellowstone. I don't really remember.
Are you from Omaha originally?
Malvern, Iowa, like
Okay.
a small town from 45
And it's just
minutes.
you and your sister?
Yep.
Okay.
And but we also did we saw we did the Chevy Chase Vacation. We saw like the House of Foam in Wisconsin, and we saw like these weird, like the House on the Rock. We went to the Wisconsin Dells.
That
was
place
super
is
cool.
so crazy.
Yeah, we talked about that a couple weeks ago. And then we went to trying to think what are some other trips we did, but they were all unique, and I can pick out memories out of that. Now, I'm 50, right? So I can still remember some of those things we did. And I think of some of the things we've done with my kids where we were going on a pretty good clip there, where we were taking a vacation about every quarter. But we kind of fell in a rut where we were going to Florida. We would go to, different parts of Florida, but it was all kind of like same, and like my kids were like, yeah, we went to the beach type thing. And it was not unique memories. So we've done a few other things. Like we went to the Dominican Republic, and we went to, that was amazing, by the way. We went and saw like Monkey Land, I think it's called. There's like 200 monkeys.
You like
there.
the Dominican?
I did.
Because
Yeah.
it's my least favorite trip I did with my wife.
Yeah, it probably depends on the resort
Yeah.
that you went to and like where you went and all that. But
It's just sketchy.
we had a good. That's not wrong. Yeah, it really depends on a lot of different factors.
Yeah.
But we've done a lot of different stuff. But I would say the unique trips, like we went to Cannon Beach, Oregon, which I didn't even know, I'd never heard of, and my wife was researching it, and it was like the coolest place ever. It's my top, and I asked this question on social media last week. I was like, tell me some places, everybody that's friends with me or that sees this, where have you been and what's your favorite and why? And then I got all different kinds of responses, but there were some consistencies in there. And I was like, man, I got to dial into that. But we went to Cannon Beach, Oregon, and it was just like, it was kind of cold. It was like high of maybe 72, 75, but it was like that every day.
Did you have a parka?
I had a pocket on, but there were dogs on the beach everywhere. And then when the tide went out, you could go and see this huge rock. The Goonies was filmed there. Kindergarten Cop was filmed there. I was just like, this is amazing. It's like it's unlike anything I had ever been to. So that was unique and cool, and just a way to build memories, because my kids still talk about that trip occasionally.
So I have to ask you a question.
Yeah.
How did that make you feel?
It made me feel special, like I was important, until the Uber car that we had. No, not Uber. We had the
Lyft?
Turo. We had a Turo vehicle, and the thing just died right in the middle of the street, and it was bricked like your
like my truck.
Yeah. That was stressful. Anyway, we got it figured out, but so traveling. This is a traveling podcast, obviously.
This episode is brought to you by Timber Creek Virtual.
At Timber Creek Virtual, we don't just keep your business running, we take it to the next level. Our virtual and executive assistants handle all the everyday tasks so you can focus on what really matters, growing your business. Need clarity on your financial performance? Our expert bookkeeping services keep everything organized, so you always know where your business stands. With our seamless transaction coordination, you never have to worry about the details. Just close the deal. We've got you covered with cutting-edge digital marketing, proactive lead generation, and expert acquisition management. Plus, we handle the cold calling and messaging too. Let us handle the big C part so you can handle your business. Visit timbercreekvirtual.com/services and see how we can make your business soar.
Gabriel, let's talk a little bit about your businesses that you have. You have two companies that could definitely help other investors out there. Definitely, it could.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Certainly.
So you have Primetime Contracting and you have Fiber New. And now we started talking originally because of Fiber New. And can you give a little explanation of what that is?
So I'm going to actually be a little cheesy here and give you my 60-second intro, my elevator pitch, if you will.
You have an elevator pitch?
Of course I do. And the reason why I'm going to do that, really, because behind the scenes, you
have to for your franchise?
Somebody,
right?
no, it's my own thing I made up. Behind the scenes, somebody in the room was like, what is Fiber New? I'm like, oh, don't tell him. I'm going to have fun with this one. So people hear Fiber New and they think all sorts of things. Like, they're like, okay, so you're an internet provider. No. Oh, you're supplements, fiber. So I jokingly say, I can't help you with your internet speed or your bowel movements. Cute chuckle. Can you put a laugh track in there, please? Yeah. Please put one in there. Jeez, nothing. I thought I was going to get something from that. Usually I do. There it is. Thanks. It's a real knee slapper. All right. So I can't help you with your internet speed or your bowel movements, but we are the experts with the repair and restoration of your plastic, leather, and vinyl.
Here we go.
So what does that mean? Because people still scratch their heads like, oh, vinyl. I don't have anything vinyl. No, actually you do. You have everything vinyl because nothing is real these days. We're in the Matrix. No, I'm kidding.
So if we damage our flooring on our walls here, that we can get this patched up.
Correct. So examples would be usually the seats we're sitting in. These are velvet, but if this was like a vinyl or a leather seat, we work on stuff like this.
We're a higher class around here.
I see that. It's so fancy in here. Just oozes excellence.
We just had somebody check out our podcast studio, and it was like, and then Bear over here is like, this is a really high-end studio. I'm like, yeah, it is a really high-end studio.
Ted and I look at each other. We're like,
where? The fake plant in the corner?
Yeah.
That is classy.
No, it is.
Because we have two. And there's lighting in it.
And you have these cubicle things on the wall, which are for sound dampening technology.
We actually think that that's the coolest part of the whole room.
It's kind of gangster.
Straight off of Temu. Yeah, for real. Those were like this wall was like $10.
Did it come with a Chinese child to install
Probably
it for $12.99?
They're behind the wall.
Poor kid, Timmy. That's not really his name. But anyway, so back to Fiber New. Plastic, leather, vinyl. So seats, car seats, boat seats, dashboards.
You've got my attention.
There it is.
Sighting.
Yeah, well, I'll get there.
Oh,
Stop
damn it,
spoiling it.
damn
Come on, Ted. It's not all about you. I know it's your podcast.
I just didn't know if you were ever going to get there. I was getting,
and your name's on the thing.
Go so slow.
I'm speaking slowly, so I'm capturing the audience's attention. Is it working?
That way, Owen can understand everything.
Well, yes, it's small words.
Yes.
My name is Jeff.
So seats, a lot of stuff we do is in the automotive space, which is actually what landed me into the it's a franchise. What landed me into the model originally, because I'm a car person. So a lot of stuff in cars, dashboards, center consoles, armrests, but there's a huge real estate component to it as well, or housing component, from, again, couches, chairs, to vinyl siding, vinyl windows, sliders, doors. We actually do a bunch of work in town for a few builders on plastic tub surrounds and shower surrounds.
Interesting.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So pretty much everyone in the real estate space, whether they're a general contractor or remodeling contractor or have rentals, can use us, whether it's Airbnbs and their furniture, showers.
I thought those shower surrounds were mostly like fiberglass.
We could still work on those.
Because like my kids were in with my shower and they dropped something, and so it
Savages.
Yeah, I mean it has like a kind of like indent with a little bit of a crack.
Mhm.
So yeah, maybe I'll reach out to you about that.
Yeah, we do.
I
those.
personally just want to rip it out and put tile in, but
Of course, but then tile requires more maintenance.
Yeah.
So there's a give and take to both. Tile looks nicer, or if you're a baller, just do granite the whole slab. Or,
Ooh.
yeah, those are sexy.
Yeah.
I got a guy for that. But whether it's fiberglass or the newer ones are PVC plastic, we can fix the cracks and such on those.
So in my situation, I have an apartment building, and we had some hail damage that came in. It wasn't major, and I did put a claim in because the roof wasn't damaged. But in my initial inspection, I thought there was like 8 holes, and after having Fiber New out, there was 18 holes or something like that. And but he came out, was able to patch it, paint, get it all prepared, and make it so I didn't have to do a claim. The siding is only at that time like 8 to 10 months old.
Mm-hmm.
And was able to say, hey, there's no hail damage on this place.
Yep. So yeah, you can sell it with a clean bill of health now
Yep.
to look nice.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because we can help. It's a franchise, Canadian based, which is part of the reason why earlier I was like, oh, have you ever been to Canada?
51st state.
Soon to be.
Soon to be.
It's going to be huge. No state's bigger, which would be accurate because it's behemoth. But
It'd be pretty cool to be.
it would be, right? We get all the maple syrup at a discount, and then it wouldn't be like maple syrup dollars, it'd be US
Our
dollars.
lumber would be severely discounted.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Go to tariffs.
Go to Banff if
Huh?
you've never been.
Huh?
It's gorgeous.
Yeah,
we went when we bought the franchise. But on the insurance scopes, it actually says Fiber New repair. It doesn't you don't go to an exterior remodeler to be like, replace this one section.
Yeah,
Which is
exactly.
Going to be faded and not match, and they don't make it anymore. The size is different. Blah 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 blah.
Okay, I'm thinking of
He's thinking.
vinyl siding, and do you have to? So, like, sometimes there's some big holes, right? So you get smoked with hail multiple times a year, generally. And I just realized what you were doing.
What
And
do you mean? I'm listening. I have
and
a captive audience. Sir.
So, do you take the vinyl with you? So, like, you come and you pop off a section of the siding that needs repaired, and then you take it to a shop, or do you do it on site? If I'm a rental property owner or a homeowner and I need a vinyl siding repair, like how does that work?
So that's a great question. It depends on the time of the year. So as you alluded to earlier, it's getting colder. We're in the winter months. It's according to my smart apparatus here, it's 37 degrees outside. So if you had something pressing right now that we needed to repair, we would have to remove sections. It has to be over 55 degrees. So in a perfect world, we're actually not doing vinyl repairs right now. We transition to a lot of interior stuff, whether that's in the automotive space, truckers, moving companies, so on and so forth. So generally speaking, we're fixing that siding on the house. That's the ideal situation. Takes less time, less labor, blah, 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 blah. We can act quicker. So usually we're doing the repairs on the house.
And you have another company that also kind of transitions the business. I mean, so with primetime contracting, you're a general contractor. I'm assuming that these kind of businesses kind of work hand in hand together.
Yes, to some degree, they do complement one another. So sometimes I'll have someone that reaches out. Maybe they have some damage on a tub. So I've got a buddy of mine. He actually owns a roofing company. He'd be theoretically a competitor of mine. I don't look at it that way. We collaborate, right? We help one another regardless of what space you're in. I like to have conversations with really, as much as bad as it sounds, like the spray and pray method is usually not mine. I usually I'm usually strategic with who's a good introduction for me. But so he's an exterior remodeler, roofing company, flips properties, does a lot of the same stuff that we do, right? But we meet for lunch once a month at least and just collaborate. So he's known that he knows about both of the businesses. And we're talking one day about a flip he bought in I think Wycliffe, and he was kind of complaining about how he's going to have to rip out this tub, which is really in pretty nice shape, other than this tiny little crack. I'm like, you got a picture of it? So he shows me a picture. I'm like, dude, I could fix that. That's plastic or fiberglass, whatever it was. It wasn't like an old porcelain tub, is my point. And he's like, wait, you could fix that? I'm like, Eric, we've been friends for how long? Yes, plastic, leather, or vinyl. I could fix that. So we saved them a ton of money. It was like a couple $100 versus thousands of dollars. So yes, to answer your question, there is a little bit of an overlay on the interior side because
especially if you're doing a flip or something too.
Yeah, so I could save investors thousands of bucks and time, right? Because to rip that out, so assuming there wasn't a fiber new, right? We'd have to rip out the tub surround, and now we damage the drywall. We've messed with the plumbing to some degree. We have to replace the surround. We have to now paint the whole bathroom. You're talking about days,
and permits,
and potentially and thousands of dollars, or a few $100, couple hours, done. It's stronger than it was before.
Okay, all right. I'm going to test you on a few things here.
Yes.
All right. So, okay, let's say you have a house and you put in a bunch of LVP, and it's this always happens to me. Whenever I really like a product, it gets discontinued. Like, has happened to me so many times in so many different like verticals, like chewing gum, toothpaste, deodorant. I mean, like whatever it is.
At your age, though, things just phase out, man.
So I bought a whole bunch of LVP that
so many times.
When it first came out, right? So it was kind of a new product line. I don't know, it was 12 years ago, 15 years ago, something like that. And I was like, this stuff is awesome. It doesn't absorb water, blah, blah, blah. Like, and I put a whole bunch of it in, and then it scratches, or it's easy to chip or dent or gouge. Yeah, that's good. And could you come and fix that? Like, if there were, say, 5 or 6 of those things, is that something you guys could do?
So it's interesting that you ask that specific question, because I'm going to answer your question, but I'm going to sidetrack really.
All right. Answer the question with a question, then an answer.
Okay.
And then a statement with a big exclamation point. We do a lot of stuff in the RV space.
Okay.
Rolled vinyl.
Oh, okay. That's different RV than I was thinking of.
What? Huh?
Recreational vehicle?
Yeah.
Yeah. RV. They have rolled vinyl flooring in them.
RV in an RV.
RV in an RV. What? Huh?
What are you talking about?
What's going on?
We're just trying.
We do a lot of stuff in the RV space, and then I was like, okay, recreational vehicles, and then you go rolled vinyl, and I'm like,
oh, RV in an RV. Goodness, he's good. Keep him around. Yes. All right.
Jeez, wow.
We probably should keep that in just because
that was the most awkward moment ever.
I'm like, am I missing an inside joke here? What is going on?
I didn't know what was going on. I thought you just had a stroke.
No.
You guys both looked at me like
I was so confused.
He's so quick, even with his old age.
Yes.
And that proved it right there.
It's the Viagra.
Helps with blood flow to the brain also.
Allegedly, it's actually really good for workouts because you're like, yeah, bro, I'm getting swole. I took the Viagra, the purple pill. Anyway, so yes, vinyl.
Are you real?
Yes, this is happening. So vinyl flooring is in RVs, but it's the rolled vinyl, which is also in a lot of the properties that you would potentially flip. So I'm answering your question with kind of a yes. We can fix
the RV in the RV.
Yes.
Yes.
The verve and the verve.
What about plank?
Yes, because it's still vinyl.
Well, so here's my point. So like I have a house in this is why I'm thinking of this. I have a house in Carter Lake that I bought years ago, got some early model like LVP, installed it, and then the couch and the chair, and when they were moving furniture, it gouged, right? And there's probably, I don't know, I'm going to say maybe 20 planks of LVP that were like messed up, that beyond repair. Like it's going to be, they're not good. And now I'm like, okay, now I'm going to have to replace 1,500 square feet of LVP because of this little living area where there's, let's call it 50 square feet of damage, because I can't find that. I can't source that product anymore.
So kids that are listening, buy extra flooring because this shit happens all the time.
Unless it's completely discontinued and you're getting the very last box.
So you bought just enough
enough
to make the Don't do that, people. Don't do it, because there's always going to be something that happens. But potentially we could help in that situation.
Okay.
And I say potentially because if you look at the flooring behind you, it has a crap load of grain.
Yeah, there's grain and coloring
so to match all the colors, it's an art. I mean, we're using an airbrush tool to get this color right. So I don't want to say yes, like we could fix absolutely everything, because that's not realistic. What I promise is an improvement. sometimes we get perfection, but I can't promise perfection.
Sure.
I can't promise
Yeah.
like new. And part of that is my mantra, as well as the franchise's mantra, is set the expectations right, under promise, over deliver, right? If you can nail it out of the park, great. But if I can tell you, like, I'm going to try for a base hit, cool. I just did a sports reference. I don't do sports. People that are listening that know me are like, wow, good for you. But anyway, looking at the floor and behind you to match all that texture could be difficult. So potentially, if you have that many scratches, it could be a lot of work.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's totally fair and topical though, because like this has happened to me a lot. And I know I'm not the only one out there that does LVP. Like, it's a very
Everyone's
popular
doing
product.
LVP.
Yeah. So, and a lot of them are, like maybe closer in color. Like, it wouldn't be as difficult to do as something like what we're talking about. There's a lot of movement, a lot of wood grain, all
Ted's
that
got
stuff.
a lot of ideas. He's like, he wants to
he's
get it
just
out.
waiting.
Yeah,
He's
get-
just-
go.
Well, I'm
He's vibrating.
I know
over here with
when my
ideas.
point comes where I can talk. But wait, okay, so thank you. I got the light.
You have the pen.
Yes. But if let's say that you couldn't patch this, and for somebody listening to this, that's like, you know what, Fiber New is not in my area, and
It might be. There are over 310 locations internationally. That includes Canada.
let's assume you can't.
52nd state. First.
Have you?
Minnesota's a 50.
Could you take
Niner.
start taking sections that would be underneath like a oven, or maybe you do some transition pieces and section off a room or a bathroom and redo that bathroom and take those pieces to fix it? That's kind of where my mind goes.
Sure, and you could, obviously, that's more involved, and that's a different crew that like you would theoretically want to have. So say you didn't contact me, and yes, I have a remodeling company and I have Fiber New. Those are two different companies. They're two different sets of people that do the things.
But you definitely intermix a lot.
Theoretically, I could send out my flooring crew and be like, all right, remove these and then remove those, and let's switch swap.
Because I've done that. But I've done that.
Yeah.
Or
before.
closets are a great
Yes.
place to take those out of.
Are
so
you coming
can,
out?
No, I was
Word
looking at
association,
Ted.
sorry.
I was looking Ted in the eyes. When
I
said that.
love how you just
Closets.
I love how you just
Great.
reading everything to Owen.
Aren't they, Ted?
I didn't ask who was coming out. All I heard was closet.
You gave him the eye.
No,
Hi.
anyway, Ted's in the closet and he is looking at his LVP, and it's perfect because you don't like walk in there, you don't
like
drag
new.
furniture in
Yep.
there.
Yep.
So you could cut it. Potentially, you could put down either A, carpet, or B, some other type of flooring
Or
in
just
there.
flip flop the spots,
You
right?
could put an RV in there.
Mhm.
And
I love some RV.
repurpose that. You know what? We're going to save this for
A golden nugget?
yeah, that's Monday.
Oh, yeah. I know.
Yeah.
But this is almost like the golden nugget of the golden nuggets.
Yeah. Okay.
This episode is also brought to you by PropStream and Magic Door. Stay tuned for part 2 in episode 173.
This has turned into a comedy show.
Sorry.
That's all
I
right.
did warn you before.
You did.
This
You
may
did.
not air.
Fair
My
warning.
apologies.
This is why he's only been on a couple podcasts.